Yep.
Let's go ahead and get this meeting started, if we could, please. Anyone that is planning on speaking tonight, if you haven't signed in already, please do so so we can keep things moving. Appreciate it. While you're doing that, Emily, you want to get the roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Benner,
Here.
Mr. Cullinan,
Here.
Mr. First,
Here.
Mr. Hicks,
Here.
and Mr. Zollers.
Here, thank you. I'm going to just tee this up and then step away because I wasn't here last meeting. Approval of the minutes. Mr. First, you want to pick it up here, please?
Yes, but I had some corrections. I believe those have been included in the minutes, so as long as those have been included, I'd like to move that we approve the minutes.
Correct, those were updated.
Okay, very good. We have a first. Can we get a second on the minutes? Okay, thanks, Mr. Banner. Any questions or discussion? Okay. Stand as approved then. The agenda, no changes to that, as far as I know. Those that are speaking, if you would please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give in front of the commission will be truthful? If so, please answer, I do. Thank you. Okay. No public comment that I'm aware of. Unfinished business, number one. Emily, can you get us ready to go on that discussion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item this evening is for a certificate of appropriateness, application number 2021-5408. This is for the Church of Christ located at 1649 Graham Road. The applicant is requesting Planning Commission approval for a new ground sign with an electronic message display on the bottom half of that sign, similar to one actually directly across the street at the United Methodist Church. I know some other churches in the city also have similar signage. Because this is within the old Reynoldsburg neighborhood district, we do require a certificate of appropriateness for all non-residential properties doing any kind of exterior modifications, which would include new signage. With that, the applicant is here. If there are any questions, and I will pull that up. I apologize, the monitors are not working tonight, so.
Okay, all right. Commissioners, questions, comments on the church sign?
Yeah, I have a number of questions or comments. Is there anything that the applicant would like to add first before I kind of dive in here? Or?
Please state your name and address for the records, if you would.
So either Mr. Shook or Ms. Wheeler, the electronic portion of the sign, those are non-conforming uses, are they not?
I would say the code is vague for this particular zoning district. We do not call out specifically any kind of changeable copy.
I saw that there was changeable, I believe the code calls it, changeable copy types allowable in the district are channel letters only. So, but as far as what constitutes changeable copy in the electronic sign is perhaps a little vague as far as the code is concerned. So I'm just going to kind of go down the list here, and I apologize, but in section 11053C3 under sign lighting, it specifies that sign lighting in Old Reynoldsburg is exterior illuminated gooseneck, shadow lit, bulb surround. This appears to be interior illuminated. Is that correct? I don't see how that's conforming to the code. And then the changeable copy type we already spoke about. And then also the size of the sign seems to be non-conforming. I believe the maximum height is 6 feet, and with a 24-foot square surface area, this appears to be about 8 feet tall and 40 feet square. And then also, Section E3 allows 4 colors. This has 5. So those are just some of my concerns.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, but would you want to address? Rick, okay, good.
Rick, I'm sorry, would you mind pulling that mic up to
sorry.
you? Thank you, sir.
My name's Rick Kane from Adams Signs. What we're replacing is an existing sign, and I had enclosed a picture of that. That sign, we're actually we're going to use the same structure, and we're lowering the sign. We're taking 1.5 feet off the existing sign. We're lowering it by 1.5 feet. And as far as the number of colors, that's controlled in the software. So, for instance, in some municipalities, they only allow a single color at a time. That's all programmable. So,
So the entire sign is electronic? Or just the kind of flag portion there?
on the bottom portion where you see a height of 2'7", that is just a digital sign.
Mm-hmm.
The ID sign is LED illuminated, but that doesn't change messages. That's a static sign.
Right, right. So, but I don't know, maybe I just counted the colors wrong, but that portion of the sign, which appears to just be kind of a poly sign, which light would shine through, correct? That has 5 colors.
Yeah, it's polycarbonate
Right.
panels.
I think, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
if you
Mr.
don't
Hicks.
We've been pretty consistent on new developments as they come in regards to trying to help, as part of our comp plan to build a community identity and branding and trying to make the community maybe not look entirely monotone or completely cohesive, but to have some form of cohesiveness to the community. And one of the big things that we've requested on, I think, almost every single new development has been if they're going to do a sign to be a monument sign with a brick base, and sort of follow or look like, in some ways we've deviated from that a little bit if it matched the building. The Walgreens building is white, and so their sign's brick, but with white. And trying to create, a brand and an identity throughout the city. Considering this is also in the historic district, I think that I wouldn't be able to support an electronic sign there. Frankly, I think that the electronic signs create some problems in regards to, they're normally super bright at night when you're driving. I know I've noticed them in other communities, and I just don't think that it's a good look. So I don't think I can support the change. I think the old sign looks pretty good and gets the message across. But if you guys did need to replace that sign for some reason, I think that a sign that is on a brick monument base that meets the other parts of our code requirements, I think that, I would absolutely support that.
Now, to be clear on the brightness, the manufacturer we use is Daktronics, which is the largest manufacturer. These signs automatically brighten and dim themselves according to what the ambient light is outside. So it will dim itself in the evening to 4% of total brightness. So because if it didn't do that, it's difficult to read, and you're right, it is annoying, or it is too bright, but it does allow for the differences in the ambient light.
Understood.
And to be clear, I would also support the sign if it was conforming to the other portions of the code. I understand that you're trying to reduce costs and everything by reusing the existing structure and whatnot, but unfortunately it's just not conforming to our code.
Mr. Benner, Mr. Cullinan, any comments or nothing? Any other comments? Anything you would like to add or elaborate on?
So what you're saying is in this area, digital signs are prohibited? Is that what you're telling us?
I think, well, as an example, the RUMC across the street has, I think they're just yellow lights, pretty much, is that it? Yellow, green, whatever color that happens to be, and it's, digital out. And I believe it's on a monument, I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly.
Well,
It's on a
yeah,
brick
yeah.
monument.
Yeah,
I mean, if this sign was on a brick monument, would it be acceptable? That's what I'm asking.
I think I believe Mr. First mentioned the number of colors, and this is very busy.
Yes, I think if, in the top polycarbonate section, if you removed one of the colors, and if it was on a brick base and complied with the square footage and height requirements, I think it'd be perfectly acceptable.
All right, and your square footage requirement is 24 square feet, if I recall?
Yes, and 8 feet tall for the
Okay.
total height of the monument.
And just for clarification for the United Methodist Church, it's on a brick base. They have flowers that surround it. It's a solid face, Reynoldsburg in green. That is channel lettering, and so is the logo. And then there is a scrollable text, but typically it's to just say their .com, and I don't think it's constantly scrolling and changing, and it's just one color.
Right. And I think that is something that is more acceptable. For example, gas stations, those are digital, but it's a static image. It's not going to be like, I'm sure that this isn't calling it what it's technically called, but it doesn't look like a TV. This isn't a live image that things are moving, that, those types of signs I don't think I would ever support in the city, period. So.
Okay, so you're restricted to one color, is that correct?
For the electronic portion of the sign? Yeah, I don't believe we have any particular restrictions for that, but the total number of colors used in the sign is expressly called out in the code. So I would suggest that to not create an additional nonconformity, that you would restrict the color of the electronic portion of the sign to be one of the colors already used in the sign.
Any other questions or statements from staff or commissioners?
If the applicant thinks that they could revise this submittal and get back to us next month, I think we could consider tabling it. But that's, I guess we'll kind of look to the applicant if they're interested in pursuing
Yeah, if we
that.
could, and then we can discuss it and resubmit.
Okay.
All right. All right, well, I'll entertain that motion.
This is Mr. Hicks. I move that we table the application.
It's Mr. First, I second.
Okay, very good. Can we get a roll call on the tabling, please?
Mr. Benner?
Yes.
Mr. Cullinan?
Yes.
Mr. First?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
And Mr. Zollers?
Yes. Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Emily, whenever you're ready, you want to tee up the next one? I can't see what you're doing, so apologize.
I can't see what I'm doing either. Okay. Okay. All right, our next application this evening is for rezoning application number 2021-5454. This is for request to rezone a approximately 17-acre parcel on the corner of Taylor and Main Street from Innovation District to Community Commercial District. And the applicants have provided a proposed development plan here, as well as a letter stating their intent for the parcel. I believe they are here this evening if there are any questions. And this, I should say, has already gone through one first read at City Council, so there would be two additional reads after this meeting.
Whoever's speaking, you please come up, state your name and address for the records.
Thank you for having us here tonight. Eric Elizondo, I'm with Skilkin Gold Real Estate Development. I'm the project manager and the SVP of operations in 4270 Morse Road, Columbus, Ohio.
Go ahead, we'll listen to you and then we'll ask questions.
Yeah, so we are here because we do have one client that's interested in this site, and we'd like to have this property rezoned from innovation to community commercial for that one use, and we are investigating other uses for this site. And the use that would be at the corner of Taylor and Reynoldsburg is a Sheetz convenience store, and it would have a drive-through. So, but at this time, we are not. We'll still have to go through the planning process for that project, but right now we're just working to get this property rezoned so that we can proceed.
Commissioners, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Elizondo. To be perfectly frank, I think it's, I understand that, you don't want to dump a bunch of money into a project that may or may not be allowed if it's not rezoned, but it makes it rather difficult for us to really make a determination on this without having a better understanding of the use for the rest of the property. I think we're pretty familiar with the Sheetz and how it operates. I understand that would be the retail section that you've called out in your letter here.
Correct.
But what would happen on the south of the parcel still seems to be up in the air, and I understand you may have to, engage other partners there and perhaps other tenants and things like that. I'm not necessarily opposed to the rezoning here, but I think if we could have a little more detail on, what might be there other than, because it says multifamily housing or office space. Those are pretty significantly different. At least from my perspective, I think having a gas station like the Sheetz would be nice there, but also what would be the worst case scenario in my mind is to have something like a speculative strip mall, or frankly even anything that's speculative without having tenants that would occupy it on day one, if you will.
Right.
We already have enough kind of
Yeah, and that,
empty retail space.
yeah, and so to give you a little background of our kind of focus right now in terms of our development focus generally is that that's not really that's not our market. That would not be our intention here. We were prepared initially on this site. We did have a partner. We have not decided to either go back to that partner, a development partner. We're still trying to make the decision whether we continue to develop this whole property ourselves. But with the initial discussions with Andrew, and there was some interest from the city for this piece of property and potentially the state, and so we did have discussions with the city about that, and those things could not happen quick enough for us in terms of the timing wasn't right, because we do have a contract on this property and we want, we have a user that's ready to develop. So, we're working to proceed so that we would like that front to potentially be some retail, but it would not be a strip center. Our focus on development is to find multi-use tenants, and usually like national players or strong regional players. So that would be our focus on the front part of the property. And then the rear, we're in discussions with office and multifamily. So I understand where you guys are coming from this standpoint, but the community commercial allows us, I think, the reason we're going for that, because it allows us, I think, the best opportunity for the uses that we're considering.
I think, Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
don't mind
Hicks.
us, Mr. Hicks, I think, the innovation district or zone, the innovation zone, was a concept that we've been really focusing on in the city in hopes that it's a job creator, that those parcels are job creators for the city to provide jobs for residents and to provide income tax revenue for the city. And I know that, as we were going through and creating the new zoning code and effectively rezoning the entire city, we looked at every parcel and had debates about what the proper use was at each one of these properties. And there were things that we did, and that was a pretty recent process. One of my points is that land use, it's not just one particular project, but we're talking about land use, that land use is going to stay land use for a long time. And I think at one point when we were discussing the code, there was reverter language, that if you use it or lose it, that, if you zone something for a particular land use, that the old code would revert back if you didn't use it within, I think, a 2-year time period. And I actually argued for us to eliminate that, because I think that, when we zone a property, we need to not just be thinking about the next 2 years, but the next 20 years. And so I'm a little hesitant, along with Mr. First, to just blanket rezone this parcel right now without also having some sort of major site plan that can go along with this, to where we have a better idea or better control of what exactly is going to happen here. Am I supportive of a Sheets on that corner? Yeah, absolutely. But, there's other ways of addressing it. And, I would also agree that I'm a little bit concerned about with no detail at all, to just say, that's going to be 10.6 acres of multifamily within the CC district. Unless I'm missing something. I mean, if it's zone C, it's not, wouldn't it, for example, couldn't this have come through with the corner that needs to be the Sheets zoned as CC, residential medium in the other section, and, innovation in the third, or, you know what I mean? I don't understand why it's all just being zoned CC.
Right.
Well, I think right now, what they ask from them is because it's just one parcel, and they would have to have ownership to split the parcel. So as far as the tax parcels are concerned, they picked the one zone that would work and cover all of their bases moving forward in the future. Understanding that the Sheets requires a conditional use, as well as if they went the multifamily route instead of the office, would also require conditional use.
So the multifamily or office would also be a conditional use?
The office would be permitted.
But multifamily would still have to be a conditional use?
Correct. Right.
I guess my other question would be, can a major site plan, we're still working on this new code, so we're working on this. Could a major site plan be submitted along with this rezoning request? And go at the same time through here, so that we would actually, the way we did this, we said, okay, well, we know it's going to be a Sheets, but you could just plop the Sheets down in the middle of the parcel, and, I know you're not going to do that, but I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. So yeah, that wouldn't happen. It's good. The Sheets is going to be at the corner of Taylor and Main Street.
I guess
So,
if you're in a
yeah.
hurry, is it
Yeah.
possible for you to have submitted a rezoning request and the major site plan at the same time in order to get the priority project accepted sooner? And then that at least helps us fill in the blank on where one piece of this is going to be, and understand maybe how the rest of this, and in that time, you might have some other commitments. I
Yeah.
like to have the whole thing, planned out
Yeah,
as much
sure.
as what's feasible.
Yeah,
for the
I
applicant.
understand, Mr. Hicks, where you're coming from, and we would too. The issue is that we have a tenant that is on, we have a time frame on the whole property and a time frame on the lease for a major client. So, our approach, whether, we can further discuss, obviously that's why we're here, is to get that piece, at least get the whole parcel rezoned, so that then we can proceed. And like I said, we waited we've been working with you guys for a couple months to try to understand, and that has sort of pinched us a little bit in terms of time frame. So, we have the site plan. I could show it to you. We have a site plan.
We've seen it as well. Staff has seen
Yeah.
the site plan
So,
for
we
just
could
the Sheets. There's been nothing else that's been planned. I'm sorry, Eric.
Well, let me throw this out. Forgive me for thinking this way, but couldn't you purchase the property, go through getting that parcel separated, and then we can have a discussion and you can deal with the other?
It just doesn't work that way. We have obligations that we have to fulfill for the contract in order, for both our tenant and for and for the purchase. So, yeah, that's not the way the contracts are written.
Well, I agree with Mr. Hicks and Mr. First. I mean, I'm not sure what the other piece of the property is or the other piece is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there would be any opposition really to the sheets there,
Yeah.
even knowing that it requires a conditional use.
Well, so this-
I don't foresee that being an
Right.
obstacle.
So the other piece of this is that we still would have to get approval on those other projects. So, we're not, it's not like.
Well, sort of. There are permitted uses that,
Right, sure.
remember, when we are rezoning it, that's a blank check for you so the problem is, because we don't know, we
Right.
would be giving you a blank check to do that, and
Right.
we're not
Everything-
necessarily inclined to do so.
Everything that's a approved use within
Sure,
that.
sure, understood.
Mr. Benner, do you have something?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Mr. First took the words right out of my mouth. We're basically, or what you're asking for is a blank check for everything other than the sheets, anything that's within our code.
What, right, and
And
that's, well,
and we would like a little more
yeah,
specificity to what's going to go in there. I, for one, am a little leery of giving up on our innovation zone. I mean, we've pushed that. It's part of our comprehensive master plan. We haven't had a great deal of luck with it, but, and no offense to Sheets, but giving it up for a gas station, I'm not real comfortable doing that. 17 acres, I don't know how large a poet's at 6 acres, or how big is the,
it's 2 acres.
2 acres for the Sheets. So we've got 15 acres of property that could be, and there are permitted uses in there that I'm not sure I would be totally on board with. Yes, if you wanted to put multifamily or things like that, then we would have recourse.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that could go in community
Could you
commercial,
approve-
such as that strip mall that you've
Sure.
said you wouldn't do,
So-
but you don't,
Right.
once
So-
this is changed, you can do whatever you want.
Well, so let's talk about that. So do you have the authority, could you put conditions on the CC rezone with uses? I mean, could you do that to say that we want to approve CC, but where there's conditions on top of the uses that exist currently in the code?
Mr. Shook, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, the only conditions that Planning Commission and Council, if they approve the zoning district change, can put on the approval is to incorporate a development plan. They can incorporate that development plan as part of the zoning district change, and then if that development plan does not go through within a 2-year time period, it reverts back to the old zoning district. That's the only condition. So if you have a development plan for the whole site, then yes, that could be incorporated.
So right now, we are saying retail and multifamily office. So a strip mall would not be, you know what I'm saying? So retail, so when you say strip, so the
Well,
retail,
right.
right.
This has been a scenario that's occurred in the past, unfortunately, with the city, and we had some difficulty resolving it as well. So I agree somewhat with Mr. Benner and Mr. Hicks too, that I think it would be a lot more palatable, even not having a major site plan available, if it was restricted to a job engine, if it was offices or something that would employ a significant number of persons. So that way it maintains at least the major aspects of the innovation district. But since, if I understand Mr. Shook correctly, that we can't restrict the additional development on the parcel other than the sheets to something like that, absent a site plan, then I'm not sure what the path forward is here.
Could 30 days give you enough time to get something in front of us that we can see?
Yeah, I think so. I do think so. And I know so. So yes, I think that's definitely possible. It's possible, and we would like to do that. But I would also I would like to make sure we're clear in terms of, I'm clear in terms of the uses that you would like. So I'm hearing office, job generators. What about hotels? So are there some uses that you could just, whether it comes from, I'd like to hear that.
Well,
Yeah,
I
anything along those lines as far as
Yeah, I think a
I'm
lot of the
concerned.
uses that we're talking about, the innovation district, I mean, that's what it's zoned now. So, I mean, that's what our intent was when we laid out the new zoning map and the new code and trying to, the job creation. We're, just from what I'm hearing from fellow commission members, is that the Sheets is an acceptable use of that location. I mean, it's a busy corner, and it's a high-quality product that we've obviously seen for other applications. So I would say, trying to work within those bounds as tightly as possible. There's, in regards to like a multifamily use, I think that it's a little bit more challenging. I mean, I know that, innovation, we want to see job creation. That's the primary focus. So I would leave it at that. And if there's a way that, I think your options are, well, I don't know exactly what all the options are, but if we recommend non-approval, we would be a recommendation to council for non-approval. I can't remember if that changes their voting requirements. It does.
They would need a three-fourths vote.
So that makes it more challenging at council at that point in order to pass it if we give a recommendation for non-approval. But I think if we table tonight, it definitely gives you a chance to see what else you can do. I know that you guys are very professional and have a lot of projects going around in central Ohio and can find the right answers to make something work here.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Is
I
that
think if I'm
acceptable?
going to,
Sorry, Andrew.
thank you. If I'm going to, I guess, summarize what I think that I'm hearing here is something very similar, taking out of the Westerville playbook for their medical mile there and what exists there on Cleveland Avenue. Our area will also have a BRT here in the next few years. I think that is pretty indicative. I think there is some commercial that we would typically see, commercial retail. There's obviously the local canteen and there's other stuff, but there's a lot of offices that are sort of situated in there. There's the new hotel that's there. So I think all of that, coupled with the Sheets that's on there, I think it fits. I think if you do take a look at all of the list of the community commercial, I think there'll be a few that probably pop out to you that they're probably more afraid of than other ones, and they just don't want to be able to have that out there.
Sure, no, this input's very helpful.
Okay.
It's very helpful.
All right. With that, Mr. Hicks?
I move that we table the application.
It's Mr. First, I second.
Okay, very good. We have a first and a second. Emily, can you call the roll on that, please?
Mr. Benner,
Yes.
Mr. Cullinan,
Yes.
Mr. First,
Yes.
Mr. Hicks,
Yes.
and Mr. Zollers.
Yes.
All right, thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
We'll see
All
you
right.
again, we'll be back.
Thanks. Okay, since we flew by unfinished business, can we pick that up?
I'm sorry. I think there was a calendar in your packets. That was just to look at 2022 dates and make sure everything looked okay. I don't think there was anything too out of the ordinary.
Yeah, oh, that's fine by me.
And the time still works, 6 p.m. Thursdays.
Andrew, do these dates work for you? Are these good?
I'm going to have to check my new calendar and get
Okay.
back with you. Yeah.
All right, good. Do we need to do a motion for the new schedule or not? Or is it just?
I think we're all right.
Yeah.
Do we have to pass new rules? Don't we have to update our rules next January? Okay.
January, yeah.
Okay, we're not there
Yeah.
yet. I'm ahead.
And I got to check and make sure that we don't have to reappoint anybody. Make sure that no one's timed out.
Okay.
I was going to give an update on other business for the Wagner Road. I think Mr. Benner had asked for that. Unfortunately, you guys just can't see much of anything, or I would, so I promise to bring that back when our screens are working at our next meeting, which will be my final meeting. So.
Okay. Is that it then? Anything else? Meeting's adjourned, gentlemen, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good meeting.